So, Joe,
Yes.
what are some of your hobbies?
Oh, I don't have any hobby. No, I do. I have lots of hobbies. My hobby that probably everyone has heard about is I raise chickens.
Uh-huh.
So I got the poultry farm there in the back. Yeah, well, we have 40 chickens. We raise them and we sell eggs.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a lot of fun, except in the middle of winter when I have to go out there through the snow and bring them fresh water every day. I have lots of other hobbies too. I like to build things,
Mm-hmm.
so I do home repair projects in my house. Right now I'm putting new stair facings on my stairs that go upstairs. They're going to be hardwood.
Okay. So a little bit of, we
stairs.
call that DIY maybe, right?
Yeah.
So that stands for do it yourself.
Yep.
So instead of asking somebody else to do it, you might decide, I'm going to DIY this. So I'm going to do it myself at home. So some people really enjoy doing those kind of projects at home. Do you like it, or do you do it because you feel like you have to?
No, I really like it. I
Mm-hmm.
really like it because it's a combination of I don't trust somebody else to do it for me. Their standards are not as high as mine are. And I just love learning new things. Like my son blew up the engine in his car. And so I decided, well, the car's already dead. I can't hurt it anymore. Let me go learn about how to put cars back together on YouTube. And then I put his car back together, and it worked for another several thousand miles. And so that was a lot of fun.
So do you often go to YouTube when you have to figure out how to
Yes.
do something? Yeah.
YouTube is your lifeline.
Have you ever gotten bad advice from YouTube?
Yeah, you have to, well, especially on topics where there's kind of more than one way to do it.
Mm-hmm.
People have strong opinions about one way being best.
Mm.
And the problem is if you don't know, if you think this person's probably an expert on this topic, and this person's probably an expert too, but they're saying different things, then it gets a little confusing.
Mm-hmm.
So what then I try to do is either look at like other videos that those same people have posted to try to see if they gave good advice, or maybe one person just likes to take a lot of shortcuts.
Could be.
Whereas another person is more thorough and by the book. And so then I have to ask myself, do I feel like being thorough or do I feel like getting this done?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And so, how do you think you get interested in hobbies? For example, what made you decide you wanted to keep chickens at home?
Oh, well, that was one my wife just kind of decided based on something she read or something other people around us when we lived in California were doing.
Mm-hmm.
She just suggested it one day, and we just started asking questions and figuring out, where do you get chickens?
Wait, I have a question.
Yes.
Did you bring your chickens with you from California?
No, we
Okay.
didn't. We gave those away, and we tore down that coop, and then we built new ones and got new chickens.
You got new chickens.
here.
I feel
Yes.
better. I was a little worried about you and the
Yes.
chickens if you were driving across the country with
Yes.
them.
Other hobbies I just pick up because it's things I'm interested in. Like I taught myself to play the bass. Not very well, Christine. I'm no competition to you.
Christine's a good bass player.
A few years ago, and just our band at the church we were at the time needed a bass player, and so I said, "Yes, I can do that." So, I mean, just felt like it.
Mm-hmm.
So
do you have hobbies that require a lot of equipment? And do
Yeah.
you like shopping for equipment for your hobbies?
I'm not as bad as some people are. Some people, especially people like me who do construction projects in the house, they pride themselves on having to buy a new tool. It's like, I did this job only so that I could buy this new tool that I didn't already have. Me, as far as tools go, I like to have a smaller number of tools that can be used for many purposes.
Okay.
So I don't tend to buy a lot of new tools,
Mhm.
only when they wear out, or if there is something that I need a special tool for, then I will buy it, but I don't like do that all the time.
Okay, all right.
My wife might give you a different answer.
What kind of equipment do you need if you're going to keep chickens?
To keep chickens, well, first you need the chickens.
Yep, step one.
You can buy them a couple of different places. We bought ours from a feed store here in Acton. Step two, you need a house to put them in. We have a chicken coop that
Right.
I built.
Actually,
And-
maybe that's step one. Maybe the house first and then the chicken.
Step one is the house. Actually, with us, we got the chickens first,
Oh, no.
and when they were little baby chicks, you keep them inside the house because they have to stay warm. And it was a race against time to whether I could get the coop outdoors built quickly enough till the chickens had to move out there. Some other pieces of equipment you need, though, are there are these metal cans that you put water in that you have to change every day and get them fresh water. And these other metal cans that have you put chicken feed in, like these little pellets that they eat.
Food for the chickens.
Yep, food. And so you need some of those cans. Lights. But I have an interesting piece of equipment on my coop. I have an automatic door that opens and closes in the morning because I want them to be safe at night from foxes or anything trying to get in. But in the daytime, I want them to be able to get out and run around, not free in the yard, but I have like a fenced-in area that they can go in. But there's a door that opens up at, I forget what I have it set for, like 5 o'clock in the morning. It opens so they can get out. So I don't have to go out there at 5 o'clock in the morning and open.
That's a good idea.
Yeah.
All
It looks
right.
like a guillotine, but it's not. But it's
good.
not.
You said that you liked this question on here. Are there any hobbies that you find annoying? Usually when they're annoying, there may be other people's hobbies that you either don't want to hear or see or talk about.
Yeah. There's a couple of ways to interpret this question. Yes, there are hobbies of other people that I find annoying. One of them is golf. Does anybody here golf? Well, I just find, okay, I understand some people like to golf, and that's fine if it helps them relax or whatever. But most people I know who golf are miserable. They hate it, but they keep doing it, and I don't understand it.
Okay.
So I'd prefer to, if I'm going to walk that far, I'd prefer to be going somewhere for some purpose.
Yeah.
So
I would say I definitely know people who other members of their household will try to play very loud musical instruments, and that has been a problem for they find that hobby particularly annoying.
Yeah.
So that can be a problem.
I would say certain members of my family found that annoying when I was learning to play the bass.
It all depends.
Yeah.
What do you think are some benefits and drawbacks of having hobbies?
Well, I think that having hobbies, the main benefit is that it stimulates your mind to do things that you either didn't think you could do or didn't think of doing. Like you mentioned sewing before. I tried sewing once back when I was much younger and I was lousy at it. But the fact that I tried it meant that I had some experience. And so people would ask, hey, can you sew? I can say no with confidence because I know that I can't sew.
You tried and it didn't work.
Yeah. Whereas if I had never tried it, I wouldn't. It's like, well, maybe I could, but I don't know. So it really, especially as I've gotten older, it really encourages my mind to keep growing and being stimulated and to go
Learning
in
new
different
things.
directions and stuff. And yeah. So.
Yeah. Another question that I think is interesting, a lot of people couldn't do the hobbies that they normally do during the pandemic. And so some people learned new hobbies or were looking for different ways to spend time, right, that felt safe that they could do at home. So did you have any hobbies that you started in the pandemic?
Well, I'll answer that question in a second, but I actually had the reverse of that. I had a hobby that I did a lot before the pandemic, which was karate, specifically Taekwondo. I'm a 4th degree black belt in Taekwondo, but I don't do it anymore because with the pandemic, the Taekwondo school that I went to shut down, and they have opened back up, but I don't know if I'm going to go back to it because I've kind of drifted in various other directions. So I sort of gave that hobby up. New hobbies during the pandemic. At first, I was baking bread all the time. I like we weren't buying bread anymore.
What kinds of bread did you make?
Oh, not exotic things, just like wheat bread and white bread and
sandwich bread kind of things.
Yeah, just the kind of stuff you'd have around the house to, have with dinner or whatever.
Well, you had a good supply of eggs, so that helps.
We did. We had an endless supply of eggs. Yeah. See, I saw.
Yeah.
If you had more free time, what would you do with it?
Oh, what would I do with my free time if I had more of it? I think, one of my hobbies is actually, I think, learning languages. I find that interesting and fun to do. There are some languages that I've tried to learn because I needed to learn them for a circumstance, but I also enjoy learning languages that I maybe don't need to learn, but just for fun or think are fun to do. So that's maybe one that I would do. My other hobby maybe that I might do more of, during the pandemic, my hobby was indoor plants. I got a lot of indoor plants and tried very hard to keep them alive. Several of them have survived, so that's good. Before the pandemic, I didn't think I could keep any plants alive at home. They all seemed to die rather quickly. So during the pandemic, I did lots of research to try and figure out, okay, what kind of light does this plant need, and how much water, and how do I tell, and reading all this advice on if your plant looks like this, then maybe this is what's wrong with it, or if you want to propagate your plants, so take a piece of one plant and make a new plant out of it. So that was somewhat successful. I split some of them successfully, and they seem to be doing okay. The problem is, if you want to have plants inside, you need a lot of natural light, and the room that I was mostly putting the plants in does not get that much natural light. So I had to look for all the kinds of plants that are okay, mostly in the dark.
So I'm a DIY guy, so I could fix that problem in your house for you.
You can put it,
just knock down a few walls.
Add some, yeah. I think they're exterior walls, so that could be a problem. But
well, there's no problems
there
without solutions.
So let's see, maybe a couple more things. Do you collect anything, or did you used to collect anything as a hobby?
No, I know people who collect stamps or collect coins or collect. Actually, the only thing we collect at the moment is refrigerator magnets. Those magnets that stick on your refrigerator that a lot of people collect if you go to some place. Like I have several of them from Italy when we took a trip there a few years ago. So we have refrigerator magnets from just about every place we've ever gone. But with coins and stamps and baseball cards or various things that people collect, it just seems like there's so much effort involved in researching them, because this stamp might look just like this other stamp, but this one that you just gave away for nothing is actually worth, $50 or something, and this one, which looked almost like it, is next to worthless.
So you're talking about collecting stamps that might be antiques that are old enough to be worth something to someone.
Right, because they're rare. There are only so many of them printed, that sort of thing.
I don't know. I think sometimes you can collect things that are useful or semi-useful. That can happen.
People usually have different ideas about what useful means.
I suppose that's true. I don't know if you know, I collect, by accident, I collect a lot of hats, antique hats. Somebody gave me a lot of hats, and then somebody else noticed, she seems to have a lot of hats, I'll give her my old hats. But it's very difficult to store lots of hats, so I had to figure out a way to put them all on the wall somewhere. Yeah.
So question 11 is interesting. Can you, or have you ever made a career or job out of your hobby? How does that feel?
Okay.
Have you ever done that? I read recently of somebody who did it. I haven't myself. But.
Well, I guess it depends how you interpret that. I guess when I was younger, singing was a hobby of mine, and now professionally I'm a singer and a voice teacher. So in some ways, I guess you could say I made a career out of my hobby.
Oh, I suppose since we sell eggs, I suppose you could say that raising chickens is a career for us as well.
I think the question is maybe whether you would do that hobby even if somebody wasn't paying you for it. It kind of changes how you might feel about it, about whether it's a hobby or a job. So, yeah. I think that
actually, let me ask this one.
Okay.
Do you need to be good at something to enjoy it?
I don't think so. I think for some people, they enjoy learning to getting better at something. I mean, like if you're starting a new language, for example, you're not going to be very good at it because it's brand new. But if you enjoy learning it, then I think it still can be worthwhile. Or, I mean, I was not very good at keeping plants alive, but I enjoyed the ones that did stay alive at the very least. So
I don't tend to enjoy things very much unless I'm good at them.
Maybe it depends on personality.
Yeah, I guess it does.
All right. Well, thank you very much, Joe. I think we'll end there. Okay.